Hello, boxing fans, and welcome to another Boxing Asylum YouTube video. I'm Steve Wellings, and I'm joined this evening by Adam Smith and Kurt Ward. We're going to discuss briefly the upcoming card in the O2 Arena, but first of all, we've had a bit of breaking news tonight that Carl Frampton has signed with Al Haymon. Kurt, we didn't quite know what was going on with Frampton. Obviously, the Quig fight didn't happen, and Barry has been over in New York at the IBF convention. There's been a few rumours about who he was going to fight next, but he signed with Uncle Al. It was a bit of a surprise, wasn't it? And do you think it's a good move?
Well, it was a surprise because with Frampton, we know that he obviously works close with Barry McGuigan, and from for an outsider like me, it looks like Barry McGuigan likes calling all the shots, and now he's working with Al Haymon, who we know is notorious for calling literally every single shot going in, for his fighter. And it's going to be an interesting dynamic to see, who gets the final say on opponents and venues and stuff like that. With out of McGuigan and Haymon, in terms of the move you got to say it's a positive one. I mean, I said a few weeks ago I'd love to see someone like Rigondeaux sign with Heyman. I mean, I'm one of Heyman's critics. I regularly say, I'm sick of seeing these fighters in with no hopers. But for someone like Rigondeaux and Frampton now, getting the chance to sign with such a powerful guy who can, potentially put you in big fights and get you like, a lot of viewers in the United States, it's got to be nothing but a positive move. But I just hope someone like Frampton isn't wasted, over the next couple of years fighting against cab drivers and, dustbin men, and a bit like Leo Santa Cruz has been, because a few years ago Santa Cruz was talked about as a really exciting fighter, and his star power has declined. And now no one really cares about him because he's just been in with, such low opposition who've got no chance. And I'd hate to see the same thing happen with Frampton, who, I was really impressed over the last few performances, but on the whole, it's a good move, and let's hope he can get a fight with someone like Leo Santa Cruz. There's also Abner Mares there. I know he's at featherweight, but he could also come down. You got these big fights, and but I don't know about you, Steve, but where do you think Frampton's going to be fighting? Because it would seem a bit of a gamble to take him away from his Irish crowd.
I'm not exactly certain where they're going to base him or where they're going to be looking to show him. I'm assuming it's going to be over in America for the next couple of fights at least. I was talking to Paddy Cronin earlier, actually, by message whenever the news came out, and he seemed to think that the early fights will be perfect from a broadcast point of view from Ireland, where they can show them around 9:30, and then 4 o'clock in the afternoon in America. That would suit Frampton, but he's obviously built this huge base in Belfast, but I think they are going to look. They've always talked about moving him stateside. Barry's always, early on in his career, Barry was concerned that sort of big American promoters might come in and nip Frampton away from him. But I don't know whether they've been backed into a corner or not. Obviously, the way he started off on Sky and then he moved to Box Nation, he had the most recent fight on ITV, although there wasn't any deal there. As far as I'm aware, the Cyclone bought airtime or whatever it was. He has had a sort of lack of stability, for want of a better word, over the last few years. I mean, Adam, where do you see it? Do you think he's going to come back to Belfast? Will Al Heyman's backers sort of bankroll ITV to show Frampton stateside, but on ITV back in the UK and Ireland? I mean, where do you see this going? In answer to Kurt's question, is he going to be fighting in America from now on?
Well, that ITV route would be very exciting, and if he can, it would. Heyman might want to follow the American blueprint he set over there, buying airtime. I don't know if it's quite the same over here, but I mean, first things first. What does this mean for Barry? I mean, he's notorious for the involvement and hands-on approach with Frampton. That's why they split with well, that's why they split with Hearn for sure, and that's why I wouldn't say they split with Warren. They never signed with him, but that's why they probably have gone away from working with Warren. So there's only one winner if McGuigan starts disagreeing with Uncle Al. So that'll be interesting. I think first and foremost is Frampton's definitely got the style and the likability. I think if he's marketed correctly in America, he could turn into a star over there, a massive star. Obviously, with the Irish roots, Americans won't know the difference between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, so they'll sell him in that as just Irish in general. Probably incorrect, but that's what they'll do. And he could be a big seller over there, Mr. Frampton. I think he'll go well. Is it confirmed that Santa Cruz has moved up, or is he still lingering and being a dickhead?
I'm not sure if he's moved up officially or not, but I know that they have been looking to move Frampton, even though he's very small for a super bantamweight. It was always the plan that Frampton was going to be moving up to featherweight, where he
Mm.
fought as an amateur at some point. That this is now the move up after Santa Cruz. I wouldn't rule that out, but I'd say they might even just sort of sweep up some of the fighters that Al doesn't trust Santa Cruz to beat, and they might not even face each other. I mean, it's not a cert, is it, that he is gonna sign with Haymon to fight Santa Cruz?
No, I mean,
No, it's not at all.
well, and it also puts the quick fight probably further away than before, because you know, although a lot of us see it as a Frampton win that fight, Heyman will see it as a competitive fight and obviously won't want to get for a loss for Frampton this early in the relationship. So that puts that out of the way. I think if he's to fight in Belfast, you know, where he's got the established base, I think we can expect the undercards to be even worse than the ones that the ones that Cyclone have been putting on now.
You
Mr.
think?
Heyman's on board. I mean, if they can get worse, I mean, but they've been pretty bad. But yeah, obviously it's exciting times for Frampton. It's took me by surprise a little bit, but like I say, they probably have been backed into a corner somewhat. You know, they've certainly got no long term TV deal. Cyclone's obviously very small, if not one man stable, and he's clearly talented and a world champion. So he's in the right places with the most powerful man in boxing.
Definitely so. Kurt, final word to you just before we move on to Eddie's card. Has Barry been sort of backed into a corner? Has he had to cede control to Heyman to move Frampton's career forward? Or as they've painted it, is he just making a powerful alliance? And a second question, if I may, who do you see his the first fight under Heyman being? Who will he defend against, do you think?
Well, I like the way they actually put it. They said like, "Oh, we're pleased to welcome Al Heyman as part of our team," and I thought,
He gonna make the tea,
this,
is he?
yeah, that's nice wordplay, but I think you don't have to expect. Obviously, they're not going to announce this publicly, but they would have to concede control to Heyman. I mean, let's be honest, the man clearly knows what he's doing. Look at the list of fighters he's got. Floyd Mayweather said himself, if he'd started his career with Al Heyman, he believed he'd be a billionaire by now. I mean, the man knows what he's doing. He's got all these different networks. He's had control of HBO. He's got control of Showtime now. He's got control of NBC and this Premier Boxing Champions. I mean, if you're a fighter and you're offered the chance, why wouldn't you sign with him? I mean, I think for a fighter, he's the perfect guy to go to. But for a boxing fan, I can see why many people are critical because, with Frampton, we talk about the Santa Cruz fight, but you only have to look at someone like Keith Thurman, all the welterweights that Al Heyman has got, and he puts him in with Louis Collazo. So I can just see that happening with Frampton. He's just, for whatever reason, he's fighting in Boston or places like that, smaller venues, and he's just gonna be matched with lower opposition and fans probably won't like it and they'll be on his back. A bit like Scott Quigg, as he had the same treatment, for fighting lower opposition and not looking too impressive. So hopefully that's not the case. But in terms of who he's going to be matched with, I mean, I don't know at all, to be honest. I mean, I haven't heard nothing as a potential opponent at all, but you'd have to look down the ratings, I suppose. But no, I've not heard nothing. I mean, the problem is with that division, you got the like guys like Quigg, Rigondeaux, obviously no one will fight, and Santa Cruz. The rest of them there's not much really there, is there, to be honest, in terms of top talent and top guys. I mean, Avalos was looked upon as a top rated guy, but Frampton made him look levels below. So it's hard to say, and I think a move to featherweight, even though he's a small guy, might be best for him in terms of getting name fights because there's obviously bigger names up there.
Definitely so, Kurt. I think they'll maybe pick off somebody towards the lower end of the top 15, maybe for the second defence. But for me personally, good luck to Carl. Obviously, I want to see his career flourish, and I have my doubts, but hopefully Uncle Al can pull through for him on this one. Okay, guys, we'll move on to Saturday the 30th of May over in London at the O2 Arena. Pay-per-view extravaganza. Good old Eddie Hearn and Matchroom Boxing are putting on the Sky Box Office event. You can sort of split this up maybe into 2 or 3 different sections before we get into the meaty stuff. If you just have a couple of minutes just covering any one of the sort of guys on the lower echelons of the card. Adam, we've got Nathan Cleverly in action. John Ryder, Nick Blackwell's on as well, which looks like a decent fight. Dave Ryan, John Wayne Hibbert, and Scotty Cardle, Craig Evans. I mean, you could, if you want to have a word on one, none, or all of those sort of fights, if you know what I mean, just block them up together. I mean, what do you think generally about the sort of early on in the evening type of stuff?
I think a lot of the early on in the evening, type of stuff would be, if not topping, certainly joint topping a normal Saturday bill. I mean, John Ryder against Nick Blackwell. could have been on any of the shows that we've been criticising this year for Matchroom. Could have been that.
Good fight, isn't it? That I
Yeah,
think.
I think it's an absolute cracking fight. I mean, I'm not advising that I would have put it on in Newcastle, both being from down south, but could have topped that bill, for instance, could have topped the Birmingham bill, etc., etc. I think it's a cracking fight. Um, I mean, Blackwell his record is a little bit deceiving. He lost to Martin Murray when he was only 20 years of age, not ready for that fight. I think he lost on the road to Max Burzak off not a full training camp. And then obviously he's also lost to Billy Joe Saunders, as John Ryder. So, it's a good fight. John Ryder was not impressive in his last fight against some Argentinian, loading up on shots. I remember watching that. I was really, really disappointed with John Ryder in that fight. It needs to be a lot better than that against Nick Blackwell. It's close in the betting as well. 4-6 Ryder, 6-4 Blackwell. Could go either way, and I'm really looking forward to that. Blackwell, I think, has been training with Gary Lockett, who is probably one of the most promising trainers in the country at this point in time. He'll be fit and ready to go. I think it's a cracking fight, that one. Also, Dale Evans, I think, is that his name? He could again for the Welsh team go well against John Wayne Hibbert. I do think Hibbert will be too good in that fight, to be fair. Cardle's had a bit of words this weekend with his opponent as well. It's about time that he stepped up. Cardle, he is favourite to win the fight, but again could be decent. Nathan Cleverly, I'm not really that bothered. I think he's down as a float. So I don't think he will be on the actual box office show from 8 o'clock. I think he'll be on before that in a little 6 or 8 rounder, I believe. God knows how they've managed to line Cleverly up for a world title fight. To be honest,
Have you seen the guy he's fighting?
is his name Mann or something? His last name.
His
Thomas,
name is
man.
Thomas Mann, but I like his nickname, Speedy. But I'm thinking, is it one of those nicknames, like as they call a fat guy Tiny? Because he's the total opposite.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking they've called him Speedy probably because his boots have got like, plant roots in them because he's so slow.
Yeah. But no, I think it is really good. I mean, I was speaking to a fella at work today who's not been convinced to buy it as yet, and he says, oh well, does John Ryder and Nick Blackwell, is that something you would set your Saturday night on and sit and watch? We would answer yes. Maybe the general public will answer no, but there is potential, especially if Ryder wins. Obviously, being a matchroom fighter, if he wins that, he can go on to to bigger challenges and might be built into a little bit of a star. So that section of the card, I think you've described it quite well, really, there, Steve. That section of the card is decent, and I'm looking forward to getting settled in the O2 earlier before the knobheads arrive and actually sitting and watching them fights because they'll be decent.
Yeah,
No need to talk back poor like that. No bed.
bit harsh, Adam, bit harsh. Yeah, Kurt, actually looking down the running order, to be fair, it looks like a decent card all round. It's not like some of the crap we've been served up before. It's the type of card you would sort of sit down, the couple of beers and watch it all the way through. And there's genuinely, you'd look forward to the next fight, look forward to the next fight.
Yeah.
The likes of Cardle and Evans, for example. I know they had a bit of a spat at the head-to-head there, didn't they? It was more handbags than anything. I mean, what do you think about the lower portion of the bill?
Yeah, I think they're all good fights for the hardcore fan. I mean, they're not the type of fights that a casual fan, might be particularly interested in because, they might have a passing interest in the sport and they might not know the names of the guys, to be fair to them. But in terms of, like boxing fans who watch boxing week in, week out, I think, the card as a whole is an extremely strong card, and those fights that you mentioned there are all, they on paper anyway, they seem really competitive and they should be full of action. So I think I think the issue with people complaining about the pay per view is those people see pay per view as your Hatton Mayweather, your Hatton Zoo, your massive main event. That's what they see it as. And I've seen people on Twitter saying, "Oh, pay per view for Brooke Gavin," but even I'm who've been a harsh critic of Matchroom in the past, I got to say it's not a pay per view for Brooke Gavin. It's a pay per view for the whole card. And if you look through it, I mean, fair enough, you might not have good opinions on that fight that I just mentioned, but the other fights and the ones we just mentioned there are all good fights. And however long the card's on for, 6, 7 hours, whatever, I think as if you're a big boxing fan, I think you're going to get your money's worth compared to the crap like Bellew Cleverly, for example.
Moving on to the sort of A side of the card, I have the BoxRec schedule up in front of me, and we have Anthony Joshua, Kevin Johnson. That's listed as a 12 rounder. I believe it might actually only be a 10. That's got 3 stars. We've got the Evgeny Gradovich Lee Selby fight and the Jorge Linares Kevin Mitchell fight, which both have 4 stars. And then the probably the fight I'm looking forward to the least out of the 4 sort of main event type attractions would be the Kell Brook Frankie Gavin fight, which has 5 stars on BoxRec. Any of you guys know? Would you give it 5 stars? Would you be looking forward to it more than the other 3 fights? I mean, where do you stand there?
I I think that's just based on that it's a British guy defending his world title, where the other 2 guys are challenging for world titles. This is a British guy, making his defence of it. So, I mean, I'm like you. I think that's the in terms of. I mean, I know we can say the same about Joshua and Johnson. I mean, I don't expect Johnson to win at all, but I think the intrigue there is to see, can he go the rounds and can he, if he throws punches, can we see something different from Joshua? And I'm expecting to see something different because I'm not expecting a 2 round knockover job.
I
But
think in
with like
terms of
this,
go on.
but with the 2 Brits challenging for world titles, they're genuine on paper, close fights that you could see, either way, But I just think with Cal Brook, Frank Gavin, for me personally, Gavin has shown nothing as a pro to warrant a shot, you know, to why I should give him a chance in this fight. To be fair to him,
In terms of combined rankings of the two fighters, I think the Selby and Gradovich fight is a cracker. That should probably be 5 stars. But as we probably alluded to a little bit, they're not the two most well known boxers on the world order or their chosen domestic stage. So that's probably why.
Well, here,
But
Adam, let me ask you this: then, where does the Selby Gradovich intrigue lie? Is Gradovich? Do you think he's generally got a chance of beating Selby? I mean, I say that with all greatest respect to him, or do you think is it a case of Selby having to stop Gradovich? Because I just personally don't see Gradovich beating Selby at all. I mean, am I being a bit unreasonable here?
Well, I mean, Selby's flattered to deceive on a number of occasions, to be honest, and he's difficult to work out. I mean, 3 or 4 years ago, he was coming on the stage as a bit of an unknown and spectacularly knocking out the likes of Stephen Smith. I think Martin Lindsay was one of them. He knocked them out, announced himself on the scene, and then he's gone a little bit stagnant. I remember he had a performance for Luke Campbell's debut in Hull, the outdoor show, where I thought he was boring to say the least. I wouldn't say it was poor because he got the job done easily, but they've obviously picked at featherweight, which is a competitive division, as earlier mentioned. They've picked the easiest champion, as it were. They've been going on about Gradovich is making his fifth defence. He actually drew it his last fight against someone that I've never heard of, to be quite honest.
Jason Velez, was it? I think.
So yeah, I don't think Gradovich is definitely beatable. But really, for Selby, I wrote today, he's got the talent to beat Gradovich quite easily. Has he got the attitude, the stamina, and the discipline? And that's what we're going to find out about Selby. Sometimes he's dominating fights, and we think, oh yeah, should be knocking this kid out easy, and he ends up carrying him for a few rounds or even going a distance. When he does get into these distance fights, I think Selby can be quite boring to watch. But Gradovich is going to come forward, and I think that will be right down Selby's alley, and Selby should be winning quite easily. To be fair, but yeah, I think they've done it's good matchmaking.
We also, of course, Kurt have Linares against Mitchell. We were talking about this off the mic actually earlier. We know Linares has world class ability, but also world class vulnerabilities. He's a personal favourite of mine. I like the sort of vulnerable, classy boxer. The Johan Pablo Hernandez's and Linares is just right up my alley. I think whenever he gets going for the first 3 or 4 rounds before
don't
he
forget the Audley Harrisons
yeah,
there as well.
yeah, okay. Well, that you added that one in, not me. But whenever Linares gets going for the first 2 or 3 rounds, I think he's a superb talent. And Kevin Mitchell obviously has a chance if he can hang in there and start to push Linares towards the end of the fight. He obviously has a puncher's chance. He could cut Linares. We know he has paper skin, but surely this is Mitchell levels apart from Jorge. Am I being unfair again? Am I coming off a bit wild here? I mean, what do you think about this matchup?
Yeah, well, if you go on it by paper, between them they've got 5 losses and they're all by stoppage. So I think you can say that there's a great chance of this fight not going the distance. I think both are vulnerable, But I'm like you. I'm a big fan of Linares. I think when he's on form, I think he's one of the best boxers to watch. Out of anyone. He puts his punches together so well. He's so accurate. When he's confident, he's great to watch. But I think with him, he does cut very easily, and I think that's when he mentally can crumble. And it's up to Mitchell with the fans behind him because he's sold a lot of tickets to really pull it on him. I don't think he can win a boxing match with him. He's gonna have to, like DeMarco did. He's gonna have to, take some accurate shots and walk through them. And I'm not sure if Kevin Mitchell, like DeMarco, can do that. And I keep thinking back to the Katsidis and Burns fights, and I'm a big fan of Mitchell as well. And I've rooted for him for a long time, and I've saw him live a few times as well, and I picked him to beat both of those guys. I think talent wise, he's above those guys, but outside the ring, mentally, I don't think he can cut it with those type of guys. And when you're getting stopped in 4 rounds by Ricky Burns, that tells me something. And I think that was his best chance of winning a world title against Ricky Burns. And I don't see him being able to put the pressure on Linares and making him panic and making him mentally break down. I just think Linares is too classy for him. If both of them are at their very best, I think Linares has got too much for him. But it's one of those fights where I'll be sad to see a guy lose because I'm a big fan of both guys.
Fair enough. Before we go on to the big one, Adam, just a brief prediction from you on Linares Mitchell, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one to call, but first and foremost, Kevin Mitchell cannot be relied upon, especially from someone like me who's looking for a betting opportunity. It just can't be relied upon. He had the excuse against Katsidis, and like Kurt said off here, we give him a bit of a pass for that. Maybe his life was in turmoil, but then he goes up to Ricky Burns, talks the right talk. He's got his life back on track, personal life in order, training in order, gets knocked out in was it 4 or 6 rounds. Ricky Burns don't often do that to people. He did it to Kevin Mitchell. That rings alarm bells for me. Um, there's 5 losses between them. They've all been by knockout. I've done a little bit of looking up on Linares today. I haven't really seen him as definitely not as much as what you guys have. The Sergio Thompson blowout, he got knocked down, got up, and the corner virtually pulled that off for him. I'm not going to say that he was protesting heavily to referee or corner, but they finished that fight for him. And DeMarco, as Curtis expertly said last week, he was winning nearly every round of that fight, and then gets cut up, loses interest a little bit, or loses confidence, and he got done there. So he is classy Linares. He's not going to be scared about going on the road. Mitchell can't be relied upon. Mitchell was losing exactly a year ago. Was losing to I can't even remember the guy's name, Maduma. He was losing quite badly there. Pulled that out of the fire in the 11th round. For Estrada, Estrada was perfect for him, and Mitchell destroyed him, and Mitchell looked good. I doubted him that night. I was wrong, and Mitchell looked good. So if he is on it, as he says he is, we've heard it all before, Mitchell has to be on top of his game, and if he is, he can win.
And this is it for Mitchell as well. I mean, this is surely if he loses this, gets knocked out, surely that's it for his world title opportunities now.
You would have thought so, but in this game, Kurt, I suppose you never really know. But before we wrap it up, guys, we'll just have a word about the main event. Obviously, Kell Brook, Frankie Gavin. We've discussed it a few times on the pod and off. We all know what it is and what it isn't. Kurt, I'll start with you. Obviously, whether Frankie merits the shot or not, the fact of the matter is they're going to be fighting on Saturday night. I mean, how do you see him getting on? Personally, I think Frankie's a tough wee nut. I think he'll hang in there, but he'll never be in any danger of winning the fight, and he'll probably get stopped in about the 10th or 11th. You, I believe, think it's going to end a little bit earlier than that?
Yeah, well, I've got a bet. I've got Brook inside 3 rounds. I think they're looking at the August. I think Eddie Hearn mentioned it, August 29th. I believe Brandon Rios is the name that they're looking at for HBO as well, I think. So, just like this fight, Jojo Dan was blasted away early, and I know people afterwards have said, "Oh, he was crap. He was nothing." Fair enough, but I saw Jojo Dan go to Canada and beat Kevin Bizier twice. I saw him go to Turkey and put in, should have beat Selçuk Aydin twice. So you can say he's crap, but I've saw him perform against guys who he's expected to lose against. Nothing in Frankie's pro career to me tells me that he's that much, you know, prepared for this than Jojo Dan was. Yeah, he might be. Well, people say he's so talented and everything, but I don't see it. I mean, can people Can any of you two tell me where this talent has shown in any of his fights? Because I don't see it. I mean, his best win was Denton Vassell. That was his best win, I'd say, or was it Junior Witter? I'm not sure, but he's never, to me, he was a great amateur. No one can take that away from him. I don't think his style has transferred to the pros at all. I think since he's made his debut, we've been told, oh, he's got so much talent, he can't be hit in the gym. Everyone tells you how great he is. All these trainers are all telling us how great he is, but I think after how many years as a pro and how many fights, I'm still waiting for that performance where I can say, oh yeah, he's so talented. I mean, I don't know about you guys, man, I'm being harsh, but I just don't see this talent, as a pro yet. And I think Cal he's too big for him. He's too fast. He hits too hard. It's to me, it's an easy fight for Cal Brook, and it's a perfect fight. I mean, let's be honest. If Eddie Hearn fought, I know he's going to say, "Oh, Frankie's got a great chance. He's so talented and everything," but they've already lined up Cal Brook's next fight. I mean, so what does that tell you?
Yeah, Adam, I don't know what you think. I agree with Kurt on the talent front. Obviously, the amateur game's one thing, the sparring sessions, the gym work's another. If Frankie has indeed got this superior talent, we haven't seen it yet, and his biggest win as a pro has to be Denton Vassell. He hasn't showed any reasons for us to believe that he can step up to the level that Brooks competing at the moment. Would you agree?
Yeah, I completely agree with Kurt. To be honest, I think obviously all fingers point to Brook for the win. It's just I'm just undecided of how he does it. To be honest, I think it's Frankie Gavin. Obviously achieved massively in Chicago in 2008, winning that amateur gold medal. But really, if it wasn't for that, the sell for this fight for his whole career would have almost vanished. He got done by Leonard Bundu in a very close fight, and if it wasn't for the knockdown, which he did well to survive, if it wasn't for the knockdown, it would have been a draw. And it could probably come out on top. Bundu went on to fight Keith Thurman and lost every single round on every single card. That form's not worked out very well.
He barely beat Bradley Skeet as well. We've got to remember.
Yeah, and I remember him. I remember watching him struggle with. He struggled with Junior Witter for a little bit as well. I mean, he can count himself lucky to be in the fight, but it does make sense really from a matchroom and Kell Brook's perspective. He's keeping busy. It's only. I mean, if this was Kell Brook's first defence, we'll probably be moaning. But it comes 9 weeks after his mandatory challenger. They're keeping him busy. They've got bigger fights on the horizon. I do wonder how seriously Brooks taking it, and also in the lead up, I think Paul Webber spoke about this as well. That Gavin, with at the start it was I can win it, but now it's a big opportunity, and we're hearing different kind of talk coming out, Gavin. It's a very I think everyone has to be aware that it's a very different fight from Jojo Dan. Jojo Dan was coming forward and eating virtually every single punch that Brook threw. Frankie Gavin's going to be quite a different objective, especially early on. He is reasonably difficult to hit. He is going to be on the back foot, but ultimately, I think Brook is just far too big. Too accurate and frankly too talented. And I think that Brook will get to him probably in the second half of the fight. And Gavin really will almost go into the wilderness, and it could quite easily be forgotten about actually.
I think it's not just people talk about Frankie's lack of punching power, but we saw not there's many boxers out there who haven't got big punching power. I think it's his physical strength. Compared to Brook, I don't think he should be at this weight.
No.
But Cal Brook is a big welterweight. He's not just a small welterweight. He's a big guy who probably they don't tell us how much they hydrate to like HBO do, but God knows how much he weighs. And he showed how strong he is when he fought Sean Porter. Sean Porter was a middleweight as an amateur, and he when he made his pro debut, I believe he was a middleweight. He's a short, stocky guy, but he's very strong. Cal was able to tie him up, clinch him, and Porter couldn't really do much about
Good
it.
point.
That just shows me how strong Cal is, and I just it's not the punching power for me. He's not going to get Cal's respect, but a guy who can't punch, that's always going to be the case.
Yeah.
But it's the lack of strength to hold him off or to bully him, and I just see him getting bullied quickly. A bit, Jojo Dan didn't need to be bullied. He was, like you said, he didn't seem ready for the fight. He was, like a rabbit in the headlights, and he was eating shots. But I just think with Gavin, I just think he's going to be bullied as well.
Either way, Kell Brook dominates, and if we are looking, it's only 9 weeks after his last fight, and potentially 9 weeks to his next pretty big fight. He ain't going to be wanting to hang about, and he's got the platform as
Exactly.
well. And I know it's Sky box office. There might not be hundreds of thousands of viewers, but there's definitely a lot of non-Sheffield boxing fans in the arena that would be interested in the likes of travelling to wherever it may be to support Kelly in a Rios fight, for example.
Okay, guys, that's it then. Pretty much a unanimous verdict. We all think Kell Brook's going to come out on top, and hopefully it'll be a decent show overall. Cheers for coming on, guys. I'd like to thank Kurt Ward and Adam Smith for coming on. Don't forget you can catch Adam Smith's weekly breakdown. Is that up on the Boxing Asylum site now?
Yep, it's already up. It should be. I think you'll enjoy it this week.
Excellent stuff. Don't forget, guys, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel and please leave a like for the video and also a comment below as well and let us know what you think. This Sunday evening, we have the Boxing Asylum Nuthouse podcast coming up, so don't forget to tune in for that. And thanks once again for listening, and we'll speak to you soon.